You don't need a massive AI project to start working with businesses. You just need one small win that makes them say, what else can you do? In this video I'm going to show you 5 processes you can automate with Claude inside different departments of a business. These aren't big complex systems, they're small focused automations. Just one task done faster and better, and that's exactly the point. Because when you walk into a business and fix one painful thing, you become the person they trust with everything else. These apply to almost every business. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-person agency, a local shop, or a company with over 50 employees. Every business has a marketing team, a sales team, someone doing HR, or someone building or managing their product or service. The problems I'm showing you today exist in most of them. And at the end I'll show you exactly the model I'd use to sell this to a business. Let's get into it. Now imagine this company has an Instagram post, a great photo and a caption they spend time writing. Now someone asks, can we put this on LinkedIn, in the newsletter, on Facebook and as an Instagram story too? This sounds simple, but every platform has a different image size, a different tone, a different format, so that one post turns into 3 hours of resizing, rewriting and second guessing. Now the solution for this: we can build a skill that takes one image and caption and repurpose it for every platform automatically. Okay, so let's get started. I'm just gonna open Claude Code. I'm using it in VS Code as an extension. I already opened the folder Claude Automations, and I'm just gonna give it the prompt to create this specific skill. Let me show you how it's structured. I'll also link this in the description below if you want to do the same automations as me. Now create a skill called Content Repurposer for Ardona AI's marketing team. Okay, so this is my company right here. I will give you an image and a caption. Your job is to repurpose them into ready to publish content for platforms, adapting the text for each platform's format and tone, and specifying the correct image dimensions the design team needs. Okay, so I gave it some style guidelines, how I want my posts to be, who is my audience. Then for each platform produce, and then I gave it the post types and how I want them to look. So we're gonna go with LinkedIn, email, Instagram story and Facebook post. Okay, now I replace this last part right here, regenerate the images in the right resolution using a Python script for Nano Banana 2. We're gonna use Gemini's latest image generation model. Then I give it a bit of a technical guideline, so I'm using this in Python for AI API calls. Then add an .env file so I can paste my Gemini API key, store the posts in this specific folder, and then the captions in the same one, just it's gonna be an MD file. Okay, so let's send the prompt and see what it does. Okay, and while we wait for this to finish, let's go and get a Gemini API key. So search for AI Studio on Google. You should be able to log in with your Google account and register for this app right here. Then you can go and get your API keys. You can use OpenAI instead of Gemini or any other image generation model. I'm just gonna use this one because it's faster. So I'm just gonna copy the key and have it in my clipboard ready to go. And it is done. Unfortunately, it failed a bit, so it didn't create the skill in this folder here, and it added the script in the root directory. Then it also used another model. I don't understand why. I mean, it's not trained on the latest data and it didn't search for the latest model, even if I gave it to it. Okay, so I need you to store the skills right here in this directory, not global. The script should be in a /scripts folder, not file. And the skills should have a reference to them. Okay, and why did you use another image model? Use the one I've told you to. Search online how to use it. It is live. And then I gave it the model again. So let's send this prompt. And as you can see, it's already searching online for the model I've told it to search for. I hope it finds something. Let's see if it finds how to use it, so we don't have to give it the documentation ourselves. But that's not a problem. If it goes wrong, then we'll just copy and paste Gemini's documentation. Okay, seems like it is done now. I have to copy my API key again. And let's paste it in the .env file. Awesome. Don't share this with anyone. I'm just sharing it because I'm gonna delete it in a few seconds after filming this video. Let's test it and see if it works. So we have to give it a caption and an image. I already have one prepared, so this is my post for Instagram, and let me also copy the caption. So I'll just tell it to use this content repurposer. Okay, we have to open a new agent so it has context of the skill it just created. So let's just write /content repurposer, then give it the image and the caption. I'm not really sure if it can use the image we attach. We might have to drop it in this folder right here and give it the path to it, but let's see. I think it might fail because it's the first run, but let's see if it self-heals. Okay, it's done. It just created the captions for now. Let's just preview them. Looks pretty good, but I don't understand why it added the image spec right here. Now let's drag and drop the image right here in the root directory. And let's give it the path to the image. So this means that we're working in the current folder, and then we give it the file name. Awesome. Okay, so it tried to run Python, it didn't work. Now it's trying to run Python 3. It looks like it's running and it's not failing yet. Maybe it's waiting for the images to generate. Okay, so it found 2 bugs. It's asking me if I want to make edits to the Python script, which is exactly what I've expected. Now it's running again. Okay, so it says it is done, which is awesome. Let's check the posts right here. So we have the Facebook one. It extended the image from the original one. So the original one looked like this, and this one is extended by default. Awesome. Now for Instagram story, this looks awesome. Then LinkedIn, again, awesome. Why does it look so similar to Facebook? It also modified parts of its structure. I don't mind now. See, it added an A here for the Ordona logo. It's not this logo right here, so we'd have to modify the scale a bit and give it some more context of our company. Then for newsletter header, it looks awesome. And then it has another one for newsletter inline. Also great. Now imagine someone working in a marketing agency and they have a task for today to take one image and repurpose it across all their platforms. They can just call the script and wait 1 minute and they have all the content repurposed. If something doesn't look right, we can tell it to use the script and regenerate it. Okay, now let's go to the second skill. I wanted to stay in marketing because this is a really big niche. Most people use AI for content ideas, but they're doing it the slow way. So every week they open a new chat, rebuild the same context from scratch and still get generic results. For me personally, it used to take 3-4 hours every week just to plan content. Okay, so it's not as painful as the first skill we did, but still, it saves us 3-4 hours a week. And it was not because of overthinking, it was because I was starting from zero every single time. I'm not saying that the AI didn't have context about me. I mean, it has features like memory and all that stuff, but still it was pretty hard to brainstorm with it. The solution is a skill that already knows your channel, niche, audience, what you've covered. You open it, you ask it for ideas, and it plans based on trending topics and your content history. So you go from 3-4 hours every week to 10 minutes. Again, this is something really simple that you can implement in 15 minutes that would save companies a lot of time. So let's head back to Claude and paste the prompt. I'll link it in the description, but we need to modify it a bit. Okay, so create a skill called Content Idea Generator for my YouTube channel in this project, and then I gave it my YouTube channel. Then I gave it some channel details, my niche, my audience, my format, and the topics I cover. Then I told it to search YouTube for trending topics in this niche. And then when I ask for content ideas, generate 10. For each one, give me the title, the angle, and the format. Never suggest vague titles like how to use AI and top AI tools, I mean the generic ones. And then ask me to choose from the ideas you generate and then store them in my content calendar in Notion. So for this skill, we're actually gonna give it an interface. And I'm gonna be using Notion because this is what I use day to day. Let's just create the skill and then I'll show you how to link Notion to your Claude. It says that it is done. This one does not have a script, but it tells us to set up the Notion MCPs. Okay, so in order to connect your MCPs, you'll have to write /MCP, run the status. Right now I've disabled this for the purpose of this video. I actually don't know this, but let's see if it can add the MCP for us. So can you connect the Notion MCP? I know how to add it manually, but I want to do it as simple as possible. Let's see if it has access to do this. So for me, it was disabled specifically for this project. It's now re-enabled. Let's actually check it. If you write /MCP and click on manage MCP servers, you'll see it right here. It did not enable it. It told me it did, but it didn't. So just click on it and enable. I mean, if you don't see Notion right here, then you can connect it interface through the Claude app. It's the fastest way, or through a console command, however you wish to. But I'm just gonna show you how to do it through the Claude interface. So it's this right here. Just click on customize, connectors, then click on the plus button here, browse connectors and search for Notion. Then it will guide you to log in with your Notion account and it will work out of the box. I'm just gonna close this because I'm not gonna use it anymore. Then it might not work in the current agent's context, so you'd have to open a new session by clicking this button right here. Now let's try and run the skill. So content idea generator, run. So we generated the 10 ideas, the angle, the format. Now let me open my Notion and show you my calendar to check if it works real time. So I'm gonna try and schedule them for next Monday. So they should appear right here after I tell it what to do. Add 1 and 2 to Notion and schedule them for next Monday. Both are added for Monday, March 16th. Let's check it. Right here. Awesome. So it works. So now when we plan our content, we just have to run the skill we created in 5 minutes. Of course, the skill is not perfect. We have to give it more context about us. I actually have this skill that I use every week. This is how I created it, but then after I used it a couple of times, I had to adapt and add more rules to it and more context. But yeah, this is the way of building this kind of stuff. Now, for skill number 3, we're gonna go to sales. So this is a skill that I like a lot. Prospect research and pain point finder. Before reaching out to a potential client, a salesperson needs to understand who they're talking to. What does this company do? What are they struggling with? Why would they care about what I'm selling? To do this, you need to manually search for the specific company you're gonna target. You're gonna look through the information and then you're gonna try to link what you're doing to what they're doing. And this takes a while. So for each customer, you would spend 1-2 hours researching and creating some talking points that you could use in the sales meeting. Now, the solution is a skill that reads the company's website, figures out what they do, and then identifies the real problems this specific company probably has, based on what you sell. So it's gonna take into consideration the product you're selling. So let's just build it. Again, I'm gonna just paste the prompt. It's linked in the description below. So create a skill, prospect research and pain point finder for my sales outreach in the current directory. So I'm selling AI automation for businesses, custom Claude skills, workflow automations and AI powered tools that save teams hours every week by automating repetitive stuff. When I give you a company website, do the following. Read and summarize the company, find the real problems, connect to what I sell, so link the problems to what I'm selling, and then it's gonna give me 3 outreach openers I could use. It's gonna give me some conversation starters. Store this in an MD file in the company research folder. Awesome. Let's send it. I haven't built this skill before. I don't know if it can crawl the website by default. If it doesn't work, then we'll create a script, but I hope it works out of the box. Okay, this one was quick. So it already created the skill in a few seconds. Let's just go ahead and open a new session and try to run it. So it named it prospect research, and then we have to give it a website. I'm just gonna use the website of a friend. I hope she doesn't mind. And let's see if it works. So this is a company that offers training, corporate trainings. So it tried to find other paths which don't exist. Now it's trying to do a web search, but the first one worked. Their main page worked. Okay, so it looks a bit wrong. Let's see what the final result is, but I think we're gonna have to create a script that passes the information on their website. Company research, it created this file right here. Let's open it. It gave me some technical details that I don't care about. No, this is not right. So this is not what the company does. So we'll have to build a script. So create a Python script that scrapes the website so we get enough info and add it to the skill steps. It added the script right here and it edited the requirements. Let's accept the file changes. Now it's updating the skill to add a pre-step. It updated the skill. We have to run this once to install the libraries, but I don't want to do that, so let's ask it to do so. But let's open a new chat session so it doesn't have context of what we just discussed, and try to run the skill again. It's company research, prospect research, sorry, and then we give it a website. So it's running what it told us to run earlier. Awesome. So it told me right here that the scraper is still running and it's falling back into web search in parallel, and now it's making the same mistakes it did the first time. So we kind of need to enforce that it waits for the scraper. Again, it chose a different company. It's not this one. It didn't even find the right country. So let's try and fix it. And now I'm asking it, and there's nothing we can do to scrape JS generated websites. Can't we just get the metadata and some basic info for this type of websites? Let's see. I mean, we could switch to using platforms that scrape websites instead of generating our own script, and we could integrate them through an API key, but I'm not gonna do that now. I'm just gonna try to make our script better. Okay, so it edited the script and now it's trying to run it. Okay, I didn't actually expect it to work, so it did. And now it's editing the page. Let's now check the file. I'm just gonna open preview so we see it in this format. So this company is a professional and personal development company. So now it got the right info, real operational pain points, lead nurturing, course materials and content that built from scratch each time. So it found real problems this company could have. I'm not saying it has all of them, but I'm saying now we have something that we could target in our sales call. And it also linked it to my product, so I'm selling AI automation and it's telling us what automations we could do for them, which is awesome. What products we could sell. Then it added some conversational starters. Most L&D providers I talk to are leaving renewal revenue on the table simply because there's no structured touchpoint with past participants. I built post-curse follow-up automations that consistently surface the next program at the right moment. So this is basically an automation for upsell. It works great. Now I can outreach this company directly. This one had some problems, but in a few minutes we've created a skill that we could use daily. Now for the fourth one, we're gonna target the HR department of companies, and we're gonna do a job post writer. So basically every time a company needs to hire someone, the same thing happens. They dig up an old job description, change the title and post it. The result is always the same: wrong candidates or nobody applies. And it also takes a few hours to do so. Now, the solution is a skill that turns a role brief into a ready-to-post listing in seconds, one that actually attracts the right people instead of the wrong ones. The company context will live in the skill permanently. Each new role just needs a title, requirements, and what makes it interesting. So we have some permanent context and then some context that we have to give with the skill. Now the output will be a LinkedIn ready listing. So let's go ahead and build it. Go back to Claude. Let me just paste the prompt and edit it a bit. Create a skill called job post writer for our HR team in the current directory. Then we have to give it some context. When I give you a role to write for, produce a complete ready to post job listing with these sections: headline, company intro, role summary, responsibilities, what we're looking for, why this role, and how to apply. The target length should be 350-500 words, short enough to get read, detailed enough to filter the wrong candidates out. We could enhance this from the beginning and give it some files that it has as context, like our company website, our company logos. We can do basically anything we could think of. We could integrate it directly to LinkedIn, but let's just see that it works. So send the prompt. Let's open a new chat session and test the skill. So it's called job post writer, and then we give it a position: AI automation engineer. It added a folder here, job posts, and it's writing the actual description. Awesome. Let's open the preview. It added the title: build the AI tools that actually change how people work. Awesome. Role, company, type full-time, contract, remote. Then the company intro. Then the role summary: you'll design and ship AI-powered automations that solve real business problems for our clients. This role exists because demand is outpacing our current capacity. Clients are coming to us with complex, high-value workflow challenges, and we need someone who can take a brief, architect a solution, and get it live. Awesome. So the responsibilities are the following: translate client workflow problems into working AI automation using tools like Claude and making custom code. Awesome. Build and deploy Claude skills and agent-based workflows. Own the full build cycle. Debug and improve existing automations based on client feedback. Stay current with the new Claude API features. What we're looking for: must-haves: hands-on experience with building with LLM APIs, comfort with at least one automation platform, and basic scripting. This isn't actually something we want. We can just replace it with vibe coding experience. Ability to go from a vague problem description to a working solution with minimal hand holding. This is a really important skill in this niche. It's more important than the technical ones. Some nice to haves. Then we have a section for why choose this role. Again, awesome. How to apply: send a short note to hiring. This email doesn't exist, so we'd have to change it to a real one with a link of something you've built. Okay, so this is like qualification, which is great. And we are done. This skill was a quick win. We are done in a few seconds. How crazy is that? Okay, now before I show you the last build, I want to show you how I actually found it, because the skill of finding this is what matters most when you sell to businesses. So when you're talking to a business, you're looking for one thing: a task that someone does over and over that always produces roughly the same type of output, and that takes way more time than it should. And that's it. That's your automation. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be the most important thing in the company. It just has to be something that happens repeatedly and that the person doing it would be relieved to stop doing it manually. So let me give you a bit more context. So I have an AI audit app. So basically leads complete a form. The form is fully AI assisted, so it's quick to get through. Then after they register, they get an AI audit PDF. And in that PDF, they have the automations that they could implement in their business right now. Some parts are a bit technical. And after every audit, I was writing the same email manually. And it took like 20-30 minutes per lead, every single time. The same structure, done repeatedly, and that was my signal that I should automate this. I had the inputs, Now I just had to explain it so that anyone could understand it, even without having these technical skills. So we're gonna build a skill that takes the audit answers and writes the personalized results email in my tone in seconds. Now let me go back to Claude. Create a skill called audit result email for my business Ardona AI. When I paste a set of audit answers from a client, write them a personalized email explaining what we found and what it means for their business. It should feel like I personally read every answer they gave, and it shouldn't feel like a template. I give it some context. Clients answer questions about their current use of AI, their biggest time drains, their team size, and which departments they want to improve. They also answer other questions, but I'm gonna keep it simple for now. And then I'm giving it my tone. These are important here. So a 10-year-old should be able to understand what the email is saying. Then structure it like problem, automations. So it would have the problems the customer has, and then the automation that we could implement for them. Now we give it a structure, opening what we found, what this means for you, and next step, and then sign off as me. Let me send it, and in the meanwhile, while the skill gets created, let me run a full audit for a fictive company, so I don't use real client data. I'm just gonna skip ahead. The skill is done. Let me just open a chat window and close the other two. Audit results email. Now I'm gonna paste the answers that it submitted through the form. So I use the same website as earlier, but the answers are completely fictive. It's something that I thought of. I know it looks a bit weird, but this is how I store them. Don't judge me. So for example, we have a question about AI usage, and I just replied with I don't use AI. And then we have avoided tasks, and then I added some avoided tasks. And based on this, our system should find some problems and solutions. So let's send the prompt. Again, let me show you some more info. For example, I'm asking for time-consuming processes, cold outreach, course building, lead qualification, and it's done. It didn't store it in a file because we haven't told it to. So we're gonna improve this, but let's check the actual content of the email. Hi John, thanks for taking the time to complete the audit. One thing that stood out immediately, you're already paying for a LinkedIn Sales Navigator in ChatGPT. Here's what I found. Your sales pipeline is leaking. With a 7-person team, you're relying on manual outreach and follow-up. So we took into consideration every answer that the person who completed the form gave. So we need to update the skill to sort the emails in a specific folder. Then this is not what I wanted as a result. I want you to explain exactly to the lead what problems they have and how they could fix it with automation. So update the skill to do so. The changes were made. Let's open a new session and run the skill again on the same data. So audit result email, and then I'm gonna paste the answers and let's go. And it is done. So let's check the file. Right click, open preview. John, thanks for going through the audit. One thing jumped out immediately. You said a new magic hire would be a sales professional. But looking at your answers, the real bottleneck isn't headcount. It's that your team is manually doing things the system could handle faster and more consistently. So then here's what I found. Then I explained the problems. Your leads are leaking. Faculty scheduling is costing you clients. Your proposals are slower and less profitable than they need to be. And where to start? This is exactly what I wanted out of this email. So we are done with our 5th skill. What I wanted to explain here is that this is the kind of skill that you can't think of until you've worked with a business. You can't think until you've discussed their processes. After that, you'll find exactly how they do things. Business owners are more than glad to discuss about their business. They love to do so. So you just have to ask some simple questions. How do you do your day-to-day work? And maybe assist them through doing so. You'll get ideas like this one. You have to write everything down so you don't forget things, because you're gonna get a lot of information. Here's how you actually sell this. You don't walk into a business and pitch a 10,000 euro AI project. Nobody says yes to that from a stranger. What you do instead, you position yourself as a consultant. You reach out, you offer a free audit of the processes, just a short conversation where you ask what their team does every day and where they feel the most friction. And that's your foot in the door. From that conversation, you find the repeated task. Then you're gonna go and build that skill in a couple of hours. Choose a simple one. Just choose something that's easy to develop and that would bring the most value to the customer. And you can quantify this value by time saved. So if they spend 3 hours a day on something that you can automate in an afternoon, then that's great. Go and do so. Then you come back and show them. When they see it work, when something that was eating their time every single day now takes 10 seconds, they don't ask how much it costs. They ask, what else can you do? So they already trust you. You are someone with whom they can work. And that's when the real work starts. The audit gets you in, The skill that you implement for them gets you trusted, and trust is what gets you the bigger projects. So you basically don't just sell automations, you sell a partnership. The 5 automations I showed you today are starting points. You can find a version of them that exists in the business you're talking to and build that. Now, if you want to go deeper on building skills that actually do work for you, I made a full video on how I clone my work processes into AI skills. It's right here. See you in the next one.